is they're very expensive to provide these services. Teachers, policemen, firemen, and so on cost a lot of money. And I'm not sure we want to have these houses because they come, yeah, they bring in lots of money, construction, ripple occupancy, but they're also really expensive. And they're right. They are expensive. To provide these services on an annual, ongoing basis is $7,100 a year. This is really a lot of money. And if you remember from 97 slides ago, when we were still young, before I began getting Social Security, property taxes were not quite $5,000. So the house is nominally generating almost $5,000 in taxes, but we know the cost of providing public services to that house are $7,100. There's a gap here, right? But it's worse. There's more expense. This is just hiring people to provide public services. But what are we forgetting about this? What are we forgetting? Well, where do we put teachers? Where do they teach? Who said it? Schools. Yeah, you want to put school down, right? Yes, that's right. So we're going to have not just hire a teacher, but have to build a piece of a school. Not just a policeman, but build a piece of a police station. Not just a fireman, but a fire truck and a fire station. And if you look at the costs there, they're also very high. Look at that, $15,000. Just once, but $15,000. Right, Brett? So think about this. There are two costs involved in when a house is built. So Hoppy here builds a house. There are two costs in that house. The one-time cost of $15,000, $16,000 of building infrastructure, widening an arterial road or whatever it is, right? And then there's an annual cost, going backwards one slide, of roughly $7,100, providing teachers, policemen, firemen, and all that kind of stuff to the household. So the question that we have to think about now is, are the tax revenues being generated by the house, right, Craig, big enough to cover the costs? And I alluded to this, it seems like it doesn't, right? Because the property taxes, Bruce, were just how much? You don't remember? Oh, good, you pulled your chestnuts out of the fire. Nice, $4,800, correct. But the annual cost of providing services were how big? Michael? Oh, you're wrong. You're so wrong. You're so busted, dude. You're so busted. The annual costs were $7,000. And the one-time capital costs were, in fact, $15,000. Excellent. You get an A+. I will not torture you anymore. So the question is, are the revenues generated enough? And the answer is yes. That's what's interesting about it. It seems no, the taxes aren't enough, but they are. And here's the answer. This is the revenue being generated every year by the house. Every year it's $11,343,000. Let's go back here. You'll see there $11,343,000 every single year. But the first year it's much higher because the first year you get this construction phase tax revenue and this and half a year of that. You get half a year of this because homes built in 2013, whenever they're built, are built 1/12 on average every month. Here it's not so much in January, December, more in July, but you get the point. So homes are built the 12th in January, the 12th in June, the 12th in December. The home in December gets almost no services, right? But the house built in January gets a full year of services. It's built January 1. They're drunk, but they're builders, right? Okay, so that's why you get the full construction phase of 12 million plus 9 million, or 20 million roughly, plus 11, plus 5 more, 26 million. And in all the subsequent years, just the 11.3. So let's go over here, quick. And sure enough, 26 million the first year, and 11 million all subsequent years. That's this phase. Now, we gotta pay teachers and policemen and firemen. They cost roughly $7,000 per house, right? Go back to here. Right, dude?
Yes.
Right, Herb, right? Good. 7,000. So that same number now comes here, and we add a couple of zeros just for good measure. Right? So we go 1,000. That's the first year, you only need half the teachers and policemen because the house is only up on average for 6 months. The houses in January get a full year of service. The houses in December get no service, on average half a year. So the first year, the revenues are super big because of the construction phase taxes, the ripple phase taxes, and half half of the occupancy. But the costs are really low the first year because the house is only occupied for 6 months. With me so far? Okay. Now, let's do some simple subtraction. Subtract this from that, and you wind up with this. So on an operating cash flow basis, this is what you get. The first year, all this money comes in, a little bit goes out, we got lots of leftovers. In subsequent years, this much comes in, that much goes out, and that's left. This is looking pretty sweet. But there's a catch. We haven't paid for capital yet. Hurt. How much is capital? I lied, I am picking on you some more. I like it, it's fun. I love your last name. Tell me, what's the one-time capital cost? The number you knew, not the other one. When you knew.
15,000.
How much?
15,000.
Right. So 15,000 times 1,000 houses gets us 15 million. So let's take the revenues that we earn in the first year, pay the teachers and policemen and firemen, borrow this money, pay interest on the money, then pay off this principal debt, and we're left with $7 million. Housing brings in net revenue positive $7 million the first year for every 1,000 houses that's built. And on top of that, in all subsequent years, it brings in $4 million. Housing is stinking fabulous. Now, why aren't we all rich? Well, the governments know this. They rearrange property taxes accordingly and so on and so forth. This isn't like a surprise. They know they're going to get this every year. So they budget accordingly. And when housing collapses and construction, then they have a hole. They don't have enough money. So they think they're going to get this generally every year, and they budget like that. So this is not like it's free extra boom money. But if they didn't build the houses, because they make it very hard to build here in town for some reason, pushing builders to go to Omaha, you wouldn't get this activity. And over long periods of time, you can kill the housing industry. The state of California is the best example of it. 50 years ago, California was generally not an expensive place to live. It was easy to build a house. Even 30 or 40 years ago, it wasn't that hard. In the 80s, they still built houses in California. But they made it increasingly more and more difficult to build houses and more difficult to start businesses. And people actually began moving from California east. They went to Nevada. What the hell? And what are they thinking? I'm kidding aside. And they go to godforsaken Texas, too, right? They got good football there, but the rest of it's not so hot. Because in Texas, it's a good environment. It's easy to start a business, easy to buy land, easy to build homes. Jobs are plentiful, houses are not expensive, and that's why people move there. As opposed to California, where the fees to build a house, to get the permit to build a house in San Diego County is $160,000. The permits, not the house, not the land, just the permits. So if you screw around with the housing sector too much, house prices start to go up because of lack of supply, and your whole economy begins to change and become a little less vibrant because of it. All right?